In a small quiet town nestled at the edge of a great forest, there lived a man named Hiroshi. Hiroshi was once known as the best woodcarver in the region, a master of his craft who could transform a simple piece of wood into something beautiful, something alive. His carvings had brought joy to many, and for years, he was celebrated for his talent. But as time passed, life dealt Hiroshi many harsh blows. His beloved wife, Suki, fell ill and passed away. Grief consumed him, and he lost all desire to create. His hands, once steady and skillful, trembled with the weight of sorrow. The tools of his trade were abandoned, gathering dust in a corner of his workshop. Days turned into months, and months into years, until Hiroshi was no longer the woodcarver he once was but merely a shadow of his former self. At the age of 60, Hiroshi believed his time had passed. He convinced himself that he was too old, that his chance to live a meaningful life had slipped away with his wife. He spent his days wandering through the forest, lost in thought, his heart heavy with regret for the things he never finished, the dreams he had left behind. One evening, while walking through the forest, Hiroshi came across a sapling growing in a small clearing. It was young and delicate, struggling to rise from the earth amidst larger, stronger trees. Something about the sapling's persistence stirred something deep within Hiroshi. He knelt down and gently touched its leaves, feeling the tender life that still had so much potential despite its fragile beginnings. As Hiroshi stood there, the thought struck him: the sapling didn't care that it was small or that it was growing later than the other trees. It simply continued to grow, undeterred by the size of the trees around it or the years that had passed. Hiroshi walked home that evening with a newfound sense of clarity. Perhaps it wasn't too late for him to start again. Perhaps, like the sapling, he could still grow, still create something meaningful, even if his best years seemed behind him. The next morning, for the first time in years, Hiroshi dusted off his tools. His hands were stiff, and his movements were slow, but as he held the chisel in his hand, he felt a flicker of the old magic return. He picked up a piece of wood, one that had been sitting in his workshop for years, and began to carve. It wasn't easy. His first few attempts were rough and uneven, and he grew frustrated with his aging hands. But Hiroshi kept going. Day after day, he returned to his workshop, chipping away at the wood, finding solace in the rhythm of his work. Slowly, the skills he had once mastered began to return, and the joy he had long thought lost began to stir in his heart once more. After weeks of patient effort, Hiroshi completed his first carving in years. It was a small figure of a sapling, rising from the ground with its leaves reaching toward the sky. It wasn't perfect, but it was a symbol of his journey, a testament to the idea that it's never too late to start again. Word of Hiroshi's return to carving spread throughout the town, and soon, people began visiting his workshop once more. They admired his new creations, each one carrying the wisdom and serenity of a man who had faced his darkest days and emerged with a newfound sense of purpose. Hiroshi began teaching younger woodcarvers, passing on his knowledge and reminding them that no matter where they were in life, they could always start again. In time, Hiroshi became known not only for his skill but for his resilience. His story inspired others who had given up on their dreams, encouraging them to take that first step, no matter how small or difficult it seemed. Hiroshi learned that life, like the sapling, continues to grow as long as there is breath and will. He may have started again later in life, but he discovered that the journey of creation, of finding meaning, never truly ends. It only begins again with every new choice to move forward. As he stood in his workshop, surrounded by his new carvings, Hiroshi smiled. It had taken him years to return to his craft, but the sapling had taught him that growth is always possible. And for the first time in a long time, Hiroshi felt at peace, knowing that it is never too late to start again.